Hello, y'all, and welcome back to another episode of Chronicles of a Virgo Podcast. And as usual, I'm your favorite Virgo host, Shakita Johnson. And thank you everyone for joining me back for another lovely episode. If you guys have been following along for the month of April, you know that it is Sexual Assault Awareness Month, and I have a couple episodes just raising awareness throughout the month. So if you have not tapped into those episodes, please by all means go back and check them out. But we're going to continue the whole raising of awareness. And for this episode is very special to me. I'm very grateful for this episode and this lovely guest that has come on today to talk more about raising awareness, and it's very personable to me. So, without further ado, everyone, please welcome to the lovely Chronicles of a Virgo platform, the one and only Lisa Griffin, my mother. What's up, Lisa girl?
Hello, everyone. Hello, Shakita.
Don't be irky. All right. So, again, y'all, we are going to continue our awareness conversation centered around the topic of sexual assault awareness. So we're going to definitely get into some things for this episode. So just want to issue a trigger warning for anyone that is new. The first time is listening, this episode may um, detail some sensitive information, something that may trigger into someone. So just wanted to put the disclaimer out there initially. I hope that you stay along for the whole episode, but if not, I definitely do understand. So, like I start all my episodes off, Miss Griffin, with my lovely mental health check. So I ask everyone to rate their mental health on a scale of 1 to 5, 5 being that you're in a good space, one being you have some room for porn, but you're doing okay. So where would you rate your mental health today on a scale of 1 to 5?
I'm at a 5.
All right, we fiving it out. And I'm at a 5 today too. I feel really good.
Yes. Yes.
And you just celebrated your birthday. So you got
Yes. Happy birthday to me. Belated birthday.
what are you, 21 for the third time around?
No, I am definitely 53 years young.
53? I thought it was 52.
No, 53.
Child, I put 52 on social media. Okay. Whatever. Y'all know I be messing up birthdays and dates, but it's all good. Glad that your mental health is a 5 today. For those again that's tapping in for the first time, the reason why I do these mental health checks is to continue to hold myself aware, myself accountable, to check in with myself, just to make sure I'm doing good, and just to encourage everyone else to take some time out of your busy, chaotic schedules to check in to make sure you're doing well. And if not, try to find the areas where you need some room for porn or room for improvement, and just give back to yourself. If you need someone to talk to, try to find a very respectable, accountable, resourceful person that may help you through that time of need at that time. So again, that is our mental health checks. And we're about to get into some things. So before we dive into this conversation around sexual assault awareness, Miss Griffin, aka Mom Dukes, can you just give the audience? They hear me talk about you all the time. I've talked about you in the past before, around this topic and just in general. Can you give them from your mouth just a brief general synopsis of who Lisa Marie Griffin is?
Hello, everyone. Of course, my name is Lisa Maria Griffin. I am a mother. I'm an aunt. I'm a daughter. Um, I'm a personal trainer. Um, I'm a little bit of everything. I wear a lot of different hats. Shakita, she spoke on me so much before in the past, and telling people a lot about me. But I am, very passionate about the things that I do, the services that I render to others. I take mental health and I take fitness and wellness very, very seriously. So that's a little bit about me.
All right, thank you for that general introduction. And yes, y'all. So if y'all need some fitness and health in y'all life, please hit up her or hit me up. I will definitely pass your information on. Good luck. All right. So within this conversation, thank you for coming on to discuss this topic with me. I know it is very sensitive. The nature of the conversation is very sensitive. I've spoke on it this month and previously before about my own experience, but it means a lot because one of the main things that I have said is I can't, and I've never had this conversation openly with you. So the fact that you agreed to do this, I mean, that I'm like jumping up and down inside because it means it really does mean so much. So I just want you to know that.
Mhm.
Um, and again, like not even just with you, but just with the family in general, like, my situation in itself, it did a lot to our family and we've never been able to discuss it. So I'm glad that we have the safe space now to do that. So for people that is listening, just a general, not even going to go back into the whole story because I've talked about it. You can find episodes on the podcast. I'll drop them in the description. Um, but yes, I am a survivor of sexual assault. I was molested as a child. And I felt that within raising awareness this month around the topic, it would be great to hear from not only my mom, but just a parent in general about raising a child through those type of obstacles and just see where your mind was then compared to where you are now. That makes sense.
Mhm.
And in hopes that this helps like our relationship more and help someone else.
Mhm.
So how do you feel about like the abuse that was inflicted onto me? Like how did you feel then when it happened?
Um, it was it was very hard. It was very hard for me to stomach, for me to think about it. For a long time, throughout my life, I reflected back to the phone call that I received. And it seems like back then and now, um, when the phone rings at a certain time, it's like I would get panicky because it was always something bad. And I remember getting the phone call after, dropping you off at school and the principal calling me, telling me, "Hey, you need to come into the school, pick Shakita up. She's sick." And me saying, give her Tylenol. Because back then, they can give you, Tylenol, lay the child down, and then you go back to class, whatever. And it was in the voice of the individual. And then the knot that I got in my stomach at the time was like, you know what? Something is not right. Um, when I got to the school and saw you, you were just as little innocent little thing, just sitting there coloring, like humming, like da 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 da. So I'm like, panicky, what's going on or whatever. When I heard the news, of what happened, I don't want to really, get all into it step by step, but it was like it was like a Mack truck had just hit me and knocked me down and ran straight over me. That's how my body, had felt. And like any other parent, the first thing in your mind, somebody has harmed your child, your a family member, what the first thing that comes to mind is how I'm gonna get them back. You know, only thing I wanted to do at that time, I already saw that you were okay. You know, it's payback time. I don't care what happens, but I'm coming straight forward to this person and it's gonna be what it is. If I gotta spend the rest of my life in jail, so be it. But you just harmed my child. And that phone call and what I felt, I never ever in my life want to ever feel it again. And I said that through, raising you and having another child and raising a child and stuff. That is something that no parent ever get over. I don't care how much therapy that a person have. Yes, I've had therapy. Yes, I get therapy, you know, but that's is something that you never get over. You just never get over. And you lay down at night, you think about it. You wake up in the morning, you think about it. Through the years go past, you see your child grow, and stuff still comes in your mind about that day that everything happened. You know, for years and years and years throughout my life, of course, myself and probably any other parent, good parent, okay, would say, it's my fault. That was my fault. I take all it just give it, give it to me. It's my fault. And it took so much, and it took so many, times, my therapist telling me, no, it was not your fault. Only thing I knew was how to be a mother, and at that time, how to be a wife. And I was always a hustler, working two jobs at one time, to provide for my family. That's how I grew up. That's all the thing I knew, to make the money, bring it home, make the money, bring it home, take care of the kids. And all I kept saying is, if I wasn't working that second job and I was coming home at 4 o'clock from the first job, this would not have never ever happened. So the reasons to this happening was my fault, because I was not there in the house. So I beat myself up, throughout the years, that, this was on you, you know, and, it was just a terrible, terrible, terrible feeling, for any parent, and myself personally, to had to go through that.
Yeah. Of course, not a parent. I'm the victim. So I, I don't know if I could really gauge how you felt. And as I explained before, like I still was kind of conflicted and confused by everything that went on, right? So I like me and let me just go back a little bit. You were single. It was just me and you. Like I was your road dog for like years before you met your husband at the time. Before Bailey was in the picture, it was like me and you. I was at your hip. So for a long time, I think that's how we got so close, with me being younger. And as I got older, of course, the dynamics changed when you got married. And of course, when Bailey came in the picture, and I think we were still close then. So when everything happened, I don't really want to say like, oh, you got distant, like you became a distant parent. Like I knew that like you were hurting, and I knew that like the family was hurting. And I ain't gonna lie, like you used to journal a lot. And like one time, like I read your journal, and I knew that you faulted yourself for that. And at that time when I read your journal, I didn't understand like why you faulted yourself. I didn't really know. And so hearing you say like, because you felt like you worked so much, and if you was just there, this would have never happened. And what I'm gonna tell you, whether anybody agrees or disagrees, like a predator is going to predicate. I don't even know if that's a word. Like they are going to seek and find, they're going to slither between the cracks, and they are going to get what they want, no matter if a person is there to secure the base or not. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not saying that to say like, well, if you were there, it would have not happened or whatever the case is, but that's to take some pressure off of you or any parent that feels like, if I was just there, it wouldn't have happened, because you just never know. So you
Mhm.
said that you did experience guilt because of that. My question is, was the guilt just experienced because you felt like you should have been there, or was the guilt also because you feel like you missed the mark? Because remember the one time when I did come to y'all and I said, hey, can y'all say something to him, because sometimes he comes up here at night, and Ed said something to him. He denied it, and after that, it went away. And I remember you, when everything came out, you was like, Keita, you was like, when you told us that, was this the time it was going on? And I was like, yeah. And your face was just like, damn, you know. So like, was that also like a guilt moment as well, because you feel like you kind of like missed the mark?
Um, Probably so, but I think more was, it was like, I think God was sending me certain signs that I was ignoring at the time. And I'm going to say this because I know definitely that this is true. For weeks and weeks at a time, everybody know that I like Lifetime. I will watch Lifetime every day, all day, whatever. I will stick to Lifetime. And for like a whole month, that's all Lifetime was showing, was children getting sexually abused. Um, Uncles, just all these different movies with the parents, and the fathers molesting the daughters, and so forth. And all I kept saying in my mind, like any other parent, oh, that ain't gonna never happen to my child. And if that happens to my child, I'm gonna do da 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 da. And that was one red flag. That was one red flag, because I swear to you not, almost every single day a movie was coming on and I was watching it. And that should have been my checkpoint. I should have been checking on my child and asking my child, are you okay? Having open discussions with you to see if you was okay. I'm not even thinking about the moment that you came into my room and you had said that, can we tell him to stop, coming in your room or whatever. You know, I was just focusing on those movies that I had saw, and I should have started connected. I was already seeing things, but I couldn't put it in place in my mind. Even the long showers. I remember the long showers. I'm like, I mean, Kitty, you've been in there for like a half hour. You're still in the shower. And you would come out and your arms and stuff was so red. Like, I remember these things. But me, I was like, okay, well, she just taking long showers. These are signs. These are signs that we see it now, and we can identify them now because it unhappened. And now that when you see things like, you work in the mental health field, I work in the mental health field, and when you hear your clients or different people talk about how these are signs that leads up to abuse, that people should take heed to and notice. And this is, and I just, I wish that it would connect it. My puzzle pieces would have all connected at that time. And then sometimes I say, I'm glad they didn't connect at that time, because the person who I was at that time was just, it wasn't the right Lisa. And if I had connected those pieces at that time, I would have been serving time, and I would not have been out of jail to raise you
Mm-hmm.
and Bailey.
Mm-hmm.
And it would have been a fight. It would have been a fight for who's going to raise who. Now think about it. You gotta think about it, because my ex, he's going to take his child, and my family is going to fight back to hold on to both of you guys. And it would have been a toss back and forth, and you and Bailey were like this. And I had to be there. I had to be there. And I know that everything that God do, he do for a reason. He do for a reason. You learn, through your mistakes and stuff like that. So I'm glad that my pieces didn't connect at that time, because I would have been serving time, because I hate to say it, I would have
Mhm.
killed him. I
Mhm.
would have killed him. Point blank, period. Whatever, I don't care who don't like it or whatever. And that's how my thinking was. I didn't want nobody else to do it. I because you took my child innocence. You took all that was in me that was ever happy. You took it from me. You think you hurt one person, but you hurt me. You hurt her grandma. You hurt everybody that was connected. So no, yes, there were signs that that was there. But like I said, them puzzle pieces, I just believe that God just did not want those puzzle pieces to come together. And I knew, just like my mother said, and she would say this all the time, and I believe it, and I still see it. He will see this day again. The individuals that harm people, who harm people, cause abuse to people, they will see it again. They think their days are bright. They're not. When you wake up and you feel an ache in your center of your back and you don't know where it's coming from, oh yeah, the man upstairs working on you. So I mean, it's just it was just a hard pill to swallow. It still is.
And that's one thing that I say it all the time. I remember this time where I asked you, like, why did God, remember I said, like, why did God choose me to go through this? Like, I thought he's supposed to protect us. And you told me, and I literally have held on to this from that age up until now. You told me you never know how God is dealing with someone behind closed doors. And I
Mm-hmm.
was like, well, what did that mean? And you said exactly what you just said. Like, that person, anyone that harms someone, they will see that happen again, not necessarily
Mm-hmm.
how they inflicted the pain or hurt, but they will
Mm-hmm.
see their time with God. Like, we all have to face the man upstairs. And
Mm-hmm.
that honestly has been something that's helped me get by all these years. Like I said, I
Mm-hmm.
still hold on to that. So I like always appreciated you for that. Have you so all of that happened, and of course, like, it started circulating, and I know you've heard me say before, like, we all went to the same church together. The family started treating me different and all that stuff. Did you ever feel like, did you ever have anybody that said anything like bad to you, like, or like faulted you or said you were like a bad parent? Like, I've never heard you talk about that, and I'm really curious, like, did anybody ever say anything to you? Whether it was like church people, because church people going to church, or was it like family?
Look at me. Do you think somebody gonna come to me and say something to me? Absolutely not. First of all, I know that I'm a good mother. Nobody can say that I'm not a good mother, because my mother raised me. That's why I'm a good mother. So I already knew that I was raising my children. I was being the best wife that I knew how to be. I wasn't raised in a house where there was a mother and father. My mother, the way my mother raised her 6 children, it was whatever you had to do. You get out here and you work 2, 3 jobs. You take care of your family. I was a hustler. I worked to take care of my family. So that's all I knew. That's all I knew how I knew how to do. I didn't know how to be a wife. There's no book that comes to say, hey, this is the instructions, how to be a wife, how to be a mother. Mom taught me how to be a mother. No one taught. I had to learn. I learned from watching TV, the Brady Bunch, the Partridge Family, My Three Sons. I mean, all the TV shows that came on
Showing your
that
age
showed,
now.
yeah, that showed the mother, the father, the kids. So I learned from that. I knew how to nurture a child. You had your baby dolls, you playing with your baby dolls, me and Kim, and you holding them and stuff like that. I mean, I knew all about that. But no, nobody never attacked me and said anything that, I was a bad mother or anything like that. The people inside of our church, they respect me. They knew what type of person I was. Of course, I would see people whispering because folks don't know what's going on. That was a church that I joined that was his family church. So of course everybody knew his family because they were active, his uncles and stuff was active in the church, and we just coming to the church. And nobody, and then pastor wasn't having it. He wasn't going to have that up in his church, because that's barely Godfather. He is he's one of my best friends, a person that I respect. I respect his wife. We had a very close bond, and they knew what I was going through. And I chose to remove myself and my children from the church so that I can have a go somewhere and have a place that we could worship and find peace, because it was too much. It was too much.
Yeah, and I've mentioned that before because I remember like when because he stopped coming to church, of course, or whatever after all that, but the family of course continued. And his mom, I think this was probably one of the last times I ever seen her, she came in church and like, oh, just gave me the dirtiest looks and said some stuff under her breath and sat next to me, and I was like shook. You remember? Like I didn't know you saw it.
I remember that just like it was yesterday. And I remember passing a note to pastor, putting him on point that what was going on in the back row, second row from the back, in the middle row, because I know where we were sitting at, because we sat there every Sunday. And I had a conversation after church, with pastor. And I was like, this will not happen. This will never, ever happen again. And when I remember looking at her face at one point, how she was a grown woman mugging a little child. You're a kid. You were just a kid. And I had control up here, because if I was who I used to be, and I was not a true child of God, it would have been on in the church. Don't matter where it would have been on in the church. But a person like that, like my mama always said, you immediately go in prayer for that person. And that's what I did. I immediately went in prayer in my head for her soul, because I did nothing. You did nothing. They knew what type of person he was and what happened to him. Because see, an abuser, somebody has abused him, and families don't talk about it. They sweep it underneath of the rug. That's what was told to me. Don't say nothing. Let's just leave this alone and sweep it underneath of the rug. And I said, nah, y'all not my family. This is my family right here. This is my child. We don't sweep things under the rug. So no, when she did that, showed out like that, I just prayed for her. I just prayed for her, because she, the devil can't attack a true person of God. My energy is strong. When an evil person come up towards me, they go like that. They back away from it, because the energy that I set off is too strong.
Yeah, and I'm glad you even brought that up. Use like the whole brushing it under the rug, because I feel like a lot of parents undermine their children. Parents like to talk in confidence, away from kids, doors shut, in other rooms outside the house, and just think that they're withholding information from kids, but kids be knowing stuff. Like, so I don't know if you knew or not. You probably did. I knew a lot more than what y'all knew that I knew. I
Of course.
I heard a lot. I've seen a lot of things. So I do know that they try to bribe you pretty much to like make it go, like they were willing to pay and do a lot of things to make it go away, you know. And even with me speaking on my experience, like my situation and experience with all this now as an adult, one thing that like I continue to say is I vow myself on the whole no more secrets. I understand now why you and grandma and whomever else family had that cardinal rule. What happens in this house stays in this house, but also like that rule protects predators like him and whoever harmed him and anyone else. It continues to protect these people because unfortunately some of the demise of our families happen within our families, and we want to seem like we're protecting
Mm-hmm.
them and not, being a snitch or whatever the case may be. Because at one point
Mm-hmm.
I felt like, when things came out, I was like, damn, I just ruined the family for real. Like, even though you and Ed was already going through what y'all were going through and you were separated, I was like, there's no way that they're going to get back together. And like I partially faulted myself because like I knew that even if y'all could be friends or whatever and co-parent with Bailey, that because of that situation with that individual and me, it was no way the families will ever be a family again. So I do, like I said, I did fault myself.
Mm-hmm.
um do you feel like you should have got me more help at that time? Because like I have mentioned before, after going through the state's attorneys and all of that whole process, I had to they made me go to therapy, and I only went to therapy for like a good week and a half. And I remember you taking me to like all the therapy sessions for that week or whatever, and she dismissed me. Do you feel like at that point as a parent you should have been like, no, we need more sessions, or I'm going to find her help elsewhere?
Um, Probably looking back on things now, knowing, um, I guess from, at the time, I was working in the jail system, and working in a group home also, part-time with the kids and stuff like that. And seeing how working with the kids, of them experiencing the same things that you had experienced, and some was worse. Yes, but see, at the time when she had closed everything out, I thought, just like any other African American parent, that the church was better, the pastor was better. Hands down, Reverend Cotton, when it comes to mentoring and just counseling and stuff, like he is the man. Like, this is what my child needs, because I know what he was feeding me to get through what I had to get through. And him and I back then had a conversation, and it was like, you know, the church will help, keep you active, keep you more active. And that's what I did. I kept you in stuff. I kept you active, around your friends, and the parents that, I was in friends with within the church and their church. Like, we developed a family together. So I thought at the time that, okay, this is it. I got somewhere. She, anytime she wants to go and talk to the pastor, he's there. Anytime I call him up and tell him come to the house, he was there. So that was our therapy, because back in the day, you know, that's who your therapist was. Your therapist was your pastor in the church. You
Mm-hmm.
talked everything to your pastors,
Mm-hmm.
back then. So I had and still have the relationship, with him, that I can talk about anything. That's why they say they wear many hats. We wear many hats, and so I thought that at the time, yes, that was good. But if you look at it on the flip side, I should have sought more professional. Not to say that he's not a professional, but he's a professional in what he does, but somebody that can relate to the situation at hand. I should have got to, more help. But as a mom back then, a young mom, this was all new to me. I mean, I grew up, like I said, I grew up in a household, 6 kids, 1 parent, and none of us ever went through this before, that I know of, that I personally know of. So I didn't know. I just thought that the things that I was doing, because mom always say, whatever you do, whatever you go through in your life, you stay glued to the church, and that's a part of me that some people may not know. I stayed in church. Through COVID or whatever, it, took us out at church, but I turned my services on Sunday, and I'm sitting there and I'm listening to them, and I'm getting fed the word of God. So I just felt that, I did the right thing for you at that time.
And you know what? Like, I don't think that, and I think I've had this discussion before with my friends and other people when they ask, I don't think I ever like had any bad feelings towards you. Like, I don't feel like y'all failed me. Um, Now, as far as like the upbringing and stuff, like some things were questionable, yes. But as I got older and I've been on my own, healing journey and personal development journey, like one thing that my therapist, not this therapist, but a previous therapist told me was, parenting doesn't come with a rule book. Like, and a lot of times our parents parent based upon the time frame of when they had you in their life, and of course according to like how their parents brought them up. Now that's not to say that grandma or great grandma or whomever else was a bad parent, but parents literally parent according to that time frame. So like now that I'm at the age that I am, a lot of stuff makes sense. And yes, like y'all had me in church. I always said like 6-7 days a week. At the time, I didn't never understand why. Now I think you just gave me a better understanding, because I was always in something. Like, and basketball at that time was my main outlet. Like, was traveling, going to camps and different, clinics and stuff. And then outside of basketball, it was church, like a whole bunch of church events and different things. And it's funny because over this past weekend, you said like, Keita, you was always in something, dance, ballet, like y'all had me in so much stuff. And I feel like a lot of that really did distract my mind. Cause like, remember, like I didn't ask questions. I didn't think about this stuff. It would just, until I got to college. And I think I had that nightmare and Janelle called you. We talked about that a couple weeks ago, like, cause I didn't know what was really going on. She didn't, and she called you. Do you remember that night?
I remember.
And what was your perspective from when she called you?
To be honest, I knew one day that would happen. Because you think back, everything, you didn't get really the proper counseling. And then, I have you in everything. So it's like I blocked that part, the abuse part, out of your mind. So I tried to keep you active in so many other things, so you wouldn't think about any of that stuff anymore. Now you are an adult, you're going away to college. Now you're around all these different girls, all these different boys, everybody sitting around like adults do. and we talk about our life. We talk about things that come, happen to us in our life. And it may have been a kid on your basketball team. She started talking about, the abuse or whatever. And then in your head, there it go. Now it's coming refreshing back to you. So when I got the phone call that you had, I was like, I was kind of upset, and I wanted to just jump in my car and drive that 3.5 hours down to you to be there to support you and everything. But the only thing that I could do is pray, because I knew it was going to happen. It was going to happen at some point, because now you're an adult. You're not really moving like you was. I didn't have you in all these different classes and stuff. And now you're meeting different people and, you just experiencing life now. So now your healing process have to start all over again. We got to find you therapy all over again. So, so I felt really bad. But, I wasn't, I wasn't able to do anything. Only thing I could do was just turn over and pray, and ask God to put that coat of protection on you and just, hold you for me, which I know that he did because he got you through it.
Right. Do you ever feel like because as I got older, I didn't feel like I needed you anymore?
Nah. Regardless, I don't care what nobody say about a parent or whatever, regardless of how kids may say, well, I'm grown now, I don't need my parents or whatever. Yes, you do. At some point, you're going to need your mama or your daddy. And I never thought that that y'all, think that or whatever, because I'm 53, until my mom left this earth 2020, I still needed her. I still needed advice from her. I still needed to call her up and talk to her, even though she had dementia. And sometimes I went into the nursing home and she wouldn't talk. I still would go up there with my situation and just sit there and just talk to her. And she'd just be sitting there looking at me like this. So yes, we all still going to need our parents. And I never in a million years will say, no, my kids don't need me, or have that doubt in my mind if you need me or not. Mm-mm.
Okay. And do you feel like, I think I kind of can sense a little of the answer to this because of what happened to me affected your parenting style with Bailey?
Yeah, I was real protective with Bailey. Real protective with Bailey. And I still am. That's just me. I think that even if the things that happened to you didn't happen to you, I still would be protective like that, because you're girls, you're young ladies, and with the field of work that I do, I sing so much, yes, I'm going to protect, my children. I'm going to protect my nieces and my nephews and stuff. So yeah, I got Bailey in chains right now, and she's 23, and she knows this.
Yeah.
She know it. If
Yeah.
Bailey called me right now, situation happened right now, and I told you I got this bad foot. I'm on the road. I'm on the road to it. Doesn't matter.
That makes sense. I feel like you 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 were strict with her, but I feel like you wasn't. And I used to say that, like, why has she got it so easy? Like I think a lot of older kids that had like younger siblings could probably relate as well.
Yeah, of course, because you have to understand. You have to understand the era. Because of how my lifestyle was too, I uprooted you from mama. You was with me. I was dating someone at that time, and things were just a lot different then. I ended up meeting Bailey's dad. We got married, and the raising was different. I had to co-parent now with him, with you, I was the mother and the father. to you because your father was never around, was not in your life at all. So now, of course, the raising of Bailey and the different things for Bailey was going to be a little bit more different. But I think that if you look at it as far as the discipline was the same. You know, I was a non-nonsense person in our household. I was the warden in the house. If I say no, it's no. If y'all did it, I must have had my back turned and didn't know it. But I think it was equal, you know, because both of you had the same. Both of you were spoiled. Both of you still spoiled. And you're grown, you know, you're grown adults, you know. So I don't think I've ever treated one different than the other. I think it was always equal. And at the time, like I said, when raising you, times were different, much different. You know, I was making less money, you know, working more jobs, making less money. Then raising Bailey, I'm making more money, working, you know, lesser jobs or whatever. And of course, it may look like, oh, well, Bailey got more than me when I was at the. No, it really, it's the same. It was the same.
Okay. Um, I was about to say something. I like literally lost my train of thought. Damn, I hate when that happens. I think I'm intaking all this because again, like we've never had this discussion. Like this is the first time we've had this whole discussion. If there was anything that you could have said to me back then during that time, what would it have been?
Should have been there. You know, I should have been there. You know, I don't know how many times that I beat myself up and said I was sorry, you know, but you know, I should have been there. You know, it taught me a lot. You know, it just taught me it taught me that whole situation, everything that happens in a person's life is lessons behind it. And if people do not sit down and really sit down and jot down, take their notes and see what they have learned from that and how they're going to move forward, then they really, you know, need to take heed because I took notes with everything that happened then. And then having another girl, another child, how am I going to do this different? I decided when Bailey was in middle school and up to high school that I was not dating. I was not going to date. I was not going to bring any men around my girls ever. Now, I dated one guy. Yes, I did. I dated him. Y'all were in school or whatever. Y'all can never say, nobody can never say, y'all woke up, he was in my house. He did not come around like that. And plus, you know, church guy, decent guy, good career, what have you. And dated him for several years. Barely got to high school. And I made a promise to Bailey. And I said it to both of y'all. I don't want no relationship until Bailey graduates from high school. When Bailey graduates from high school, then I will open myself up to be in a relationship. And I stuck to that promise because I had to focus. I had to focus on my child. I had to keep my eyes on her. You know, I had to make sure that she was okay. I had to ask those questions. The things that I didn't do with you, I had to do with her. Until one day, I think Bailey may have been in 11th grade, and I was telling Bailey something about a guy that I had met, and Bailey was like, "Mommy, can you please date? You can date." She was like, "I'm getting ready to go away to college," and da 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 da. She was like, "Please date, you know, like date. You can date." And I opened myself again. I started, being, going out on dates and stuff like that. But I learned so much, from the incident with you, of how to raise Bailey, and how to make sure that everything was just tight, with her. I didn't care if I got on her nerves. I just didn't care. But I'm gonna be in her pocket at all times.
Yeah, and I always wondered, like, because I never, of course, me and Billy, we have our own personal conversations about all of this stuff or whatever, but I never asked her if, like, y'all ever had more conversations in general for her protection. And let me be clear, like, I don't want anyone that's listening to think that, like, my mom or any person in my family was not that person that was like, that did not question me about things, or that was like, everyone had that conversation, like, you never let no one touch this part of your body, you never let anybody touch that part, and if someone does, like, you need to tell these adults. Like, we had, I mean, I don't know, grandma like wrecked my brain with that. Like, I can remember,
Mm-hmm.
like, so my family very so did have those discussions with me all the time. So I don't, because sometimes I think people automatically assume, like, well, why didn't you say anything? Or your family must have never, like, had these conversations and discussions, which they do, but also you have to know the mind of a victim, and
Mm-hmm.
things that
Mm-hmm.
may have gone on in that person's situation. Like, was they threatened? Was they beat? Like, you just never know the circumstances. That's why we shouldn't, as people, place judgment on other people's circumstances, and you don't even know all the details.
Exactly. And that's true, because I had people, back then say, well, you didn't see this, and you didn't do this, and and, well, why, Lisa? Why are you such a strong person? And I'm like, wait a minute, I was already going through something. I was going through something in my own marriage. Like I said, I had just gotten married. I had problems before I was married. And as a woman, we always say we can, okay, if I do this, we can change a person. So getting married, I thought that I could change this individual to start acting and doing the things that he was supposed to have been doing. So I was already dealing with infidelity and stuff like that. And I was stressing myself trying to be this perfect person. And then, having a child in the household being abused, and I wasn't seeing the signs of it and stuff like that. So people had asked me all kinds of stuff. And I said, but when you don't have a clear mind and you're already going through some stuff yourself, stuff just goes right past you, like a race car. It just keeps going, going past you. You're not gonna get it. You're not gonna see it. So if
Yeah,
I had a
I've always, I've been asked the same thing as well. Like, did your family not know? Did they not see the signs? And again, like, when I think about those specific times when those things happen, I'm like, there was no definite sign from him that I know that y'all would have known anything. Now, I don't know what um Bailey's father sensed or knew. Like, because I've never had that discussion with him, never will. But I know what I saw, from that person and how he acted around y'all. Y'all would have never have known. And with me, I didn't think that I mean, you picked up on something because of the bathing or whatever, not knowing that that's what that could potentially be. And
Mhm.
it turned out to actually be that. I can't really think of too many of the one thing I always think about is, like, how I was super aggressive in basketball. Like, everyone thought that was okay. Like, no one seen it as a means of a cry for help. Maybe looking back
Mhm.
now, you'll be like, oh damn, like, it makes sense. And yeah, so
Mhm.
I really never could think of other signs, because, like, when people always ask me, like, other than that, how was my childhood? I'm like, I was like the most happiest kid ever. Like, I had a lot of things. I had friends. I was going places. I lived a childhood life, but on the flip side of that childhood, there was the devastation of the abuse. And I think because I was happy, like I was a happy kid and I had outlets, that overshadowed what could have what I could have potentially been at that time. So it may not have been that easy. And then it was when a teacher, whatever I wrote in school that she picked up on it, I really wish still to this day, like I could get in contact with her, or I even had that writing, because I don't think I ever seen it after I submitted it. I don't think she ever gave it back or nothing. But whatever it was, she knew. Like she instantly knew, and honestly, and I said this recently, like if she never picked up on that, like I don't know if anything would ever have came out. Like maybe even as an adult now, like I don't know if I would have ever talked about it. I don't think I knew the impact it would have on my life. I don't think I knew the real impact of it until I got with my current therapist now. And then we started to like really break down the barriers of like trauma and all this stuff. And I realized like, whoa, like, there's some things I need to work on with me that is a trauma response. Even my years of working in mental health and working with children, adolescents, and adults with trauma, my years of going to school, getting my bachelor's and master's, I didn't know that like I don't want to say broken, but I was broken in a sense. I'm just
Mm-hmm.
grateful that now I've been able to, get myself together
Of
or whatever,
course.
or whatever. And what advice would you have for like a parent, a guardian, family member, or someone that is dealing with like the same situation that you were in, where they're just finding out now, or they may have known, or they're dealing with it, that their child or a family or a relative has been abused? Like what advice would you have to offer to someone?
I know a lot of people do not like talking. They don't like, they feel ashamed because that's what we were taught, African Americans, you keep your business to yourself in your household or whatever. But if your child come to you or you see something, please get your child, some help. Don't turn your back. Don't try to be your child's therapist because you can't. The only thing that you could do is sit down with them on a daily basis when they come home from school, excuse me. Ask questions, because I've seen some parents pick up their kids, don't ask no questions. They such in a rush. Oh, I got to cook dinner. I got to go to the gym. I got to do this. I got to do that. And they don't talk to their children. Ask them, how was their day? Ask them, did anybody bother them in school? And if someone did bother them in school, ask them, how did that make them feel? How did that make them feel? If your child goes to the grandparents' house on the weekends or on an uncle, when that child returns back in your house, ask them questions about how was the visit, because a lot of abuse happens within the family, the uncle, the granddad, the aunts, just be very vocal with your kids, because I have had girlfriends of mine that have said, you talk too much to your children. She was like, you tell your kids everything. You say that to your children like that? I don't sugarcoat nothing. Never did. My mother the way she raised us, she didn't sugarcoat nothing. She told you how it was, how it was going to be, whatever. And that's how I am with my children. This is life. This is how it is. There's no surprise. So they won't have no surprises at all. But please communicate with your children. Go into their rooms. No child that don't pay no bills shut no door. It's nothing called no privacy. You ain't shut no door in my house. Don't shut no doors. I have checked book bags even before I even knew the situation with Shakita, with you. I check book bags because that's what a parent is supposed to do. You're supposed to check your child's book bag on a Friday, make sure they got pencils, crayons, enough paper in their books and stuff like that. So when you go out to the store on Saturdays, you buy those things. Check their books because a lot of times girls, especially girls, they draw pictures, and those pictures, they write little stuff on it. They venting. That's their way of starting diaries and journals and etc. Check through their notebooks and stuff, as you clean a room. No, you're not being nosy. You're trying to make sure that your child's mental health is good. That's why it's so many kids that come home, shut the bedroom door, mom or dad come in, and the child unhung themselves. And then they go through their stuff and they find out the child was being abused or the child was being bullied. Just be more visual, keep your eyes open, your ears clear, and start looking through your children's stuff. Start communicating with them, having conversations with them. Like I used to have you remember girl days, weekends with you and Bailey? Mm-hmm. It was nothing but sitting down, turning a movie on, and painting our toenails. But we were talking. We were having conversations. You have to be creative, and parents are so into themselves now and so into their own life that they don't see it until an incident happens, So I just suggest that parents be more visual, listen to your children, talk to your children, look through their stuff. Don't be ashamed, look through their phones. I did it.
Yeah, I was about to say, I agree with everything you said. And now I think more of a threat than what was during my time is social media. At that age when my stuff happened there, I didn't have cell phones. Like
right.
I didn't get cell phones till middle school because I started catching the bus, and even still at that time, I had cell phones during that time, but it wasn't like now, all the social media apps. So yeah, I do believe that parents should be monitoring like all of those areas, especially social media, especially the apps, because again, the mind frame of a predator, they are going to prey and they are going to do whatever they can until they can get whatever or whomever they're preying on, unfortunately, and they will move within cracks and crevices to do it. It's sickening. Mm-hmm. But again, as parents, you have to be more attentive. And like, I'm not a parent yet, but I just know when I become a parent, the things that I'm going to do to make sure that my household is in order and my kids are protected. And again, for any parent or person that's dealing with this situation or similar, and this is just my opinion, I don't think it's fair to say like, well, if I was there, then it wouldn't have happened. Because again, you could have still been there and it's still been happening under your nose.
Exactly.
And that's just to take some, ease a little pressure off of that person, because again, like these people are so discreet a lot of times when they do things. You just like you literally never know. There's not to get off subject, but there is this documentary that's on Netflix that I started watching. It's like 4 episodes. Started watching it at the hairdresser, and it's called Just Between Us or something like that. But anyway, the girl that directed the documentary, she started being abused by 2 of her male teachers, like her theater and a math teacher or something. But it happened under her parents' nose. And then when her mom sensed something, she approached one teacher that brought all the teachers together, and he denied it or whatever. And it continued. But that just goes to show it happened under her nose. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So you do have to be more attentive. You do have to like put a little more nowadays emphasis into building a solid relationship and rapport with your kids. And yeah, have those hard conversations. Like if you have the whole rule of what happens in this house stays in this house, Like maybe it's time, not maybe, but it is time to change that whole narrative. You know,
Exactly.
I understand like family business is family business, but in the sake of a child or someone being harmed, like no, go tell any adult, like get help. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
I don't
Mhm.
care who it is. Like put those things into your kids' minds. And like personal shout out to my aunt Kim and her boyfriend on the way that they are parenting both of their kids, Avery and James. Those that
Mhm.
know. But and I say that because we just had a little incident over the weekend. It was so funny when we were celebrating my mom's birthday. James got up from the table and I was like, "What's wrong?" And he was like, "I have to tell daddy something." And I'm like, "Well, you could tell me." And he's like, "No, I need to tell daddy." And it wasn't nothing big. It was something about his shirt. But the relationship that my aunt and her boyfriend has established with their 5 and 8 year old, nothing can cross these children without their parents knowing. Like it doesn't,
Mhm.
literally everything that happens, whether someone looks at them the wrong way, touches them the wrong way, it comes back to their parents. And that's how it should be. Now, granted,
Mhm.
they know that like my mom and myself and my sister and their grandparents are trusted adults, but they know that to go to their parents first, you know? And
Mhm.
I think that's a good thing. You want to build that rapport. With me, it wasn't the fact that I didn't think that I could go to my mom. I was scared. I was a kid. I was scared. I didn't know what else was going to happen at the time. You know, if I
Right.
know, of course, like if I knew then what I know now, yes, I would have told everybody, you know, more than
Mhm.
what I attempted to do. But just moving forward, like I just hope people release that stigma of seeking outside help, therapy. I'm glad that you even acknowledged the fact that we just thought you just needed church, you know, because now
Mhm.
the nuance is like, okay, yes, church can help in many ways, but there are other people, professionals that are put in these positions
Right.
to give you more appropriate help. Do I wish that y'all would have got me more therapy at that time? I do, because it would have really
Mhm.
gave me a better understanding of what the fuck happened to me. Like
Mhm.
it really did. Because even still sitting in that room talking to the therapist, talking to the state's attorneys, the FBI people, the medical doctors, all of them, I still don't even think I connected the dots and I really understood every single thing, you know? So yeah, if I could have, if I could hope for anything at that time now as an adult, I would just have hoped that y'all would have like kind of forcefully got me the actual help that I needed. Not taken away from what y'all did because you did what you thought was right. And that's okay because at the time, those things help, you know, they really did
Mhm.
at that time. But I feel like more professional help would have been more effective. But again,
Mhm.
at that time, who was really talking about mental health and therapy? Nobody.
And that's the thing. Like back then, it's like mental health. Okay, what that mean? It's like even if you had to say something about mental health when I was growing up, it's like again, what does that mean? You seen people walk through the neighborhood all day, every day, and going off, but you never even it wasn't a diagnose, you didn't diagnose it with anything, so you just didn't know. And like I said, at that time, I just felt that the only person that can help us through this is the man upstairs, and let me just keep you grounded in the word of God. And that's just what I did.
Right.
Could I've done, like you said, could I've done more? Yeah, maybe. I mean, we looking at it like, in 2023 right now. Yes, I could have, but back then, people may say you did all that you could have done. You know what I'm saying? So I've had people say, well, you did the best you could, and I was like, okay, well, maybe I did do the best that I could have done.
I think when we had like our mother daughter spats and exchanges of words in my adult age, there have been times when I would get super angry and I never knew why. And I think it would always go back to that. But again, like I had things within myself that I needed to address or whatever and take care of. But one thing that I will continue to hold on to, and I preach it to the choir, to anybody else, like our parents literally only parented the best way that they felt that they could at that time. There wasn't
Mhm.
no handbook, no rule book, and that's not taking accountability away from you just being a good, decent parent, a parent or a person, but
Mhm.
it's just saying like sometimes you may miss the mark. Even now, you may miss the mark as a mom. You know what I'm saying? And that's okay
Mhm.
because no one is perfect. But moving forward, I I will hope that like even now, like where is your mind now with everything? Like even though that happened back then, like where is your mind now with everything?
My mind is clear. I'm healed. I am 100% healed because like I said, I dealt with it. I don't, you know, when I was younger, yeah, you take stuff and you put it to the side and you move on and you may revisit it later or whatever. But I'm at a point of my life where I've dealt with it. I've already beat myself up with the situation. I got help with it. I've already been medicated from it. And it's like now I'm at peace with how I raised my children, the decisions that I've made in my life, and looking at my girls, even though you may have been through that, you okay. You are okay. I have peace within myself, knowing that God has you and you're not going nowhere until he comes in. I don't care. I mean, I've been through all that stuff with you. We've been through some stuff in the beginning of this. I never thought in a million years, like I said, that I would have to seek help for a child that has been sexually abused, not by anybody in my family, you know, by somebody else's family. And then people didn't know what I had to experience in my household. Now I got a suicidal, I got to keep my eyes open because I got a suicidal child. Like how do you deal with having a suicidal, child? Like what do I do? And I gotta cater to you and I gotta take care of Bailey and it was a lot. So like I said, I dealt with it. I didn't push nothing else to the side and revisit it. I got my help. I was medicated all through that, just like you may have been. I was medicated through it because had I not, I would have been in Shepherd Pratt for the rest of my life of the things that ticked off back then with your abuse, with my physical and mental abuse from my husband, ex-husband, and just trying to just get through all of that and walk outside and work with a smile on my face. And that's why I say now at 53 years old, I choose my life. I choose who I want in my life. I choose the way I want to walk my path. It may not be pleasing to others, but this is me. I'm at peace with my life. Nobody can come and bring their toxic situations to my life, whether it's family or whatever, because the only thing that I focus is my girls. Y'all know, anybody that know me know that it's my girls. It is my girls. And in my prayer every night, every morning, God, put your coat of protection on them, on their life. And when I say that, I don't have to do nothing else. I don't have to do nothing else. We good. I'm good. And again, to you, you know, I am sorry. What I'm sorry for, I'm sorry that I didn't identify what was going on. I'm sorry for working 2 jobs, getting off at 11 p.m. at night, and then coming in and trying to make sure, y'all was all right, ready for the next day or whatever, not spending all that time and all this stuff was going on. They are the only things that I could say I'm sorry for, because other than that, I was a damn good mother. I was a good mother then, and I'm a good mother now. Y'all gonna I'm gonna always ride with my daughters. Y'all gonna always be close to me. But am I at peace? I am at peace. If you haven't found your peace or your healing, you will. It's coming. It's there. But I am at peace with what happened. Do I hate that individual? At that time, I hated him. Hated a couple more people. But right now, I can say I had nothing but love for him. I have nothing but love for him at a distance, because that's when you know that you're healed, when you can say that you love the people who harmed you, who harmed your family.
Whew, my allergies. um, no, I did just get a little emotional because you've never apologized.
And
Like,
probably
you ever apologize.
probably I never, I can't even sit here and say, oh, yes, I did. Yes, I did, or whatever. Like I said, I was going through a lot. I had just, before I even got with Ed, I was coming out of a toxic relationship. All the relationships I had before him was physical and mental abuse. I was a fighter. I had to fight every single dude that I ever dated. I still had that on me. And then getting in a marriage that I thought this individual was going to love and protect me and my child. Like, yeah, I got it. I seriously hit the lottery now. And then all of this had to explode on me. And now I'm back with my boxing gloves on, knowing that I can't beat him because his hands are registered. I couldn't even protect my child, and like I said, I don't remember if I ever said I'm sorry. I probably wanted to, but you got to understand, I had all of those bad relationships. I had all that stuff still on me. I didn't heal from all of that. Your father, the 2 dudes before that, and then Ed, I didn't heal from all of that probably until I was like in my mid 40s, almost hitting 50. So yeah, I probably didn't say, I'm sorry for what happened, to you. I'm sorry for not being there like, I should have been. But at the time, I thought I was. I thought I was doing everything possible that a mother could do, at that time. But with any mother out here that can testify, when you're trying to work to provide a roof over your children's head and food on the table and clothes, and I'm paying tuition for private school, and then you in a toxic relationship and stuff, you are so damaged. I was damaged. I was no good to nobody, but I still had to walk strong for everybody, everybody. So again, from the pit of me, from the pit inside, of me, I apologize. I I apologize. And I know you know that I'm sorry. I know you know that the love never decreased in you, from me,
Mm-hmm.
because I love both of my girls like unconditionally, but sometimes, you got to give that more love to you. Maybe I should give you more love than I give Bailey. I don't know. But that, I'm sorry, but you know how I am. I'm that tough mom. I'ma say it once and I'll say it again. I'm sorry, and I hate to say it, it's over. It's done with. You got to move to that next healing part, because within me, like I said, I know who I am. I know what I did. I'm not perfect. I did plenty of shit in my life. I'm not a perfect person. That
Mm-hmm.
you talk about freak Nick or whatever.
Oh my
Like
God.
like I told a person, they said, well, would you be ashamed if your daughter see a picture of you? Absolutely not. I said,
This
I
is
just had
not.
this conversation. I hate to, getting off the conversation. I had this conversation with my coach. I said, Yanni, I'm gonna let you know right now, if I ever become famous, there might be some photos out there of me, because I'm not perfect. We all have done things in our lifetime, and I told my daughters, like, these are conversations that parents should be having with their kids anyway. I would, even if a parent is a minister or, in church and doing whatever, hey, I had a life before I came to Christ, or I had a life before I had my kids or whatever. I did things, that doesn't mean that my mother was a bad mother, because she wasn't. What I did outside of her house, that was my choice. These were my choices that I made, So, with that being said, I love you, and definitely I love you, and I, to this day, ain't nothing would change that.
Yeah, girl, did you have to bring the freak Nick up? But yes, I love
Right.
you too. And I appreciate you, and I've said this recently, I've said this in the past. Like I don't know. I have a different energy in my body with people. And I think as well. Like I never had malice towards you. And I knew that this was, again, for anybody that's listening this long, this is probably the first time we've actually got in depth about this conversation. But like, I know I've talked about things with Kim before or whatever, but I've always respected and gained some understanding of why people may feel uncomfortable with talking about it. But I always prayed that like the closure or the time would come to talk. You know what I'm saying? And it may not have been how I wanted it, or how the time frame that I needed it, or what I felt like I needed, but I knew that like God will make the divine timing happen. You know what I'm saying? And I'm glad that it happened now, be in the place that I'm in, continuing my healing journey, and also wanted to continue to spread awareness for other people, because as we see, this is something that unfortunately continues to happen. Like you see it in the news, the headlines, whether it's with
Yes.
celebrities infringing it, the type of behavior onto other people, or just people, so I feel like, this is something that needs to be talked about more. But again, people have to like dig deep within themselves to bring the conversations out of themselves, out of the households, to their kids, to their families, to just know,
Mm-hmm.
to stay, I like to say, stay locked and loaded, just expecting. But
Mm-hmm.
I hope this conversation like resonated with someone that's listening. If not resonated, that you can share this with someone, to just give people a better understanding. Like, this is my life. This has been my life. And I felt like with me this month having these conversations around this topic, it's because I wanted to provide a safe space and a resource for other people that I didn't have. I didn't have podcasts and books and all of the resources now that people have now. I didn't have this stuff back then. I didn't. I
Mm-hmm.
had extracurricular things, but that was just to distract my mind. So I wanted
Mm-hmm.
to, I don't know, God put something in me about being resourceful, being a resource that I didn't have. And if I can do that for other people and I could like not necessarily benefit from it, but I would benefit from it just knowing that I helped someone else. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? I want to do that, even if the conversation is tough, even if I tear up once in a while. That doesn't, I know now that me crying doesn't make me weak. It doesn't mean that I haven't healed from something. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So I hope that this conversation helped someone. It helped me in this moment. Again, Miss Griffin, aka Mom Dukes, I appreciate you for I'm gonna say coming out your shell to have this discussion, because I know that before in the past you just like, no, it's nothing that needs to be talked about. So for whatever reason God placed upon your heart for you to be like, you know what, let's do it. I'm thankful for,
Mm-hmm.
like, I really am thankful for that. And again, I hope that someone listening was touched by something that we said, or it just gave you better insight. And I do realize with me posting certain things this month on social media around the awareness, like, people are a little standoffish. Y'all the ones that need to be listening. Y'all the ones that need to be reposting things and digging deep and saying, well, how can I help? How can I help amplify your voice or other survivors' voices? What things do I need to be aware of? Because I have kids, or I have sisters or brothers. Like, y'all the ones, instead of running away from the conversation, you need to be coming towards the conversation and trying to really
Mm-hmm.
seek a better understanding. People may have spouses laying right next to them in the bed and not know that they have been sexually harmed in the past, because it ain't something that person just going to automatically always come out and tell you like, hey babe, yeah, 10 years ago, or when I was a kid, I was abused, but I'm okay now. No, you're never okay.
Mm-hmm.
Something may always remind you of that person or of that incident. But again, as a community, and I'm speaking from a Black community, we need to stop sugarcoating the shit, okay, and talk about this stuff. Call out the grandfathers, call out the uncles, the aunts, sometimes the grandmothers, the fathers, whomever it is. Call these people out, the neighbors down the street. Call them out,
Mm-hmm.
because the only way to fix the problem is to bring it to the surface. And I know
Mm-hmm.
anybody that knows me, when I get very passionate around topics like this, not because it resonates with me, but because I think it's a disgrace to continue to cover it up. As if you've
Mm-hmm.
been listening, you've heard me say my abuser is walking the streets freely with a family, living life with his fucking what appears to be his lavish career in Hollywood. I digress. But the point is, if more people will speak up, if more people will take things to legislation, maybe they will amplify our voices more, put more things in writing. So he and other people that follow, unfortunately, won't get the freedom that they get. And like my mom
Mm-hmm.
said, like, we don't know what God is dealing with that individual behind closed doors. That's behind closed doors. I'm talking about up front in the person. Like, how can we do something more to help, to help put these people behind bars? Not just them registering as a sex offender, not just them going to jail to serve the light sentence, because all of them do not get a lengthy sentence, and some of them get out early because of good behavior. What can we do? What can we do to help people believe survivors more? Because that's your favorite thing a lot of the times. Well, why didn't you report it? Or what did you do for that person to do that? What did you have on? You know what I'm saying? So I think we just need to be more aware as a community, as individuals, show more grace to people when they are in a position to have the confidence to speak on what's going on with them. Don't stare away from the conversation. It may be uncomfortable to you, but just know, if you stick around, you may just learn something that may help someone else.
Mm-hmm.
That's my little spill. I went off on a little tangent, but I had to get that out. um, but you have any closing words, any words of encouragement, something around this topic that will or can help someone else?
Like I said, you know, kind of like in the middle of the conversation, just talk. Talk to your children, talk to your family members, and to see what's going on. Even if you see abuse happening, report it. Talk to the individuals. Nothing is a secret anymore. When you keep stuff bottled in, when you keep stuff underneath of that carpet, I mean, it just stays there. It destroys. I mean, it just deteriorates, and you would just deteriorate in the inside. You must seek help. Find yourself a good counselor. Some people go 4, 5, 6, 7 different counselors because you have to find that individual that's actually that you're going to have that connection. A great connection with. You know, find that person and talk to them. When things happen to your kids. You know, don't just take your child to therapy, for a week, a couple days. No, it's a lifelong thing. It's just like when you get into fitness and you're working out to try to improve your weight and stuff like that. That's a lifetime commitment. So therapy should be something a lifetime commitment, because all throughout your life you're going to need it at some given point. So just basically, just talk.
And you know what? This is coming from a mother that did not believe in that concept before. So this also shows that rehabilitation is possible in many different
Yes,
ways.
yes.
Like
Because I was
it really
because I'm a
does.
very private, like I will say I'm a very private person. Like I believe in keeping my shit to myself. And now when things happen, I know how to go and seek help to help me help, you know. And so it's nothing is a secret anymore.
Right. Yeah. So again, Lisa girl, thank you for this conversation.
You are welcome.
Thank you for everyone that has tuned in this far. I hope you guys did stick around. But again, if I hope this conversation also resonated with someone, or if it was just something that enlightened you to want to do more. But if not, if you know of someone that this conversation may resonate with, please by all means do share with them. I appreciate it. Make sure you guys are tapped in with me on social media. TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, Chronicles of a Virgo Podcast, on all of those lovely platforms. And also, wherever you are listening to me on the audio version of the podcast, whether it's Apple, Spotify, iHeart, wherever you listen, make sure you guys are subscribed so you always get an alert when the episode is out. And also, come subscribe to your girl's YouTube channel on Chronicles of a Virgo Podcast on YouTube. If you are subscribed, I appreciate you. I thank you. If you do just happen to watch the video, please make sure you give your girl a like. Okay, leave a comment if you feel you want to say some words of kindness or whatever. Just support me in whatever way that you feel is warranted. I appreciate it all. I really do. I appreciate everyone that has been continuing to support the podcast, my platforms, just support and accept me as a person. It's been a long time coming. I appreciate it. I really do. I appreciate everyone that has been tapped in this month for this sexual assault awareness series. The month is almost over, so I got one more episode coming for you guys next week. Okay, and we are also nearing the end of season 2, so shout out to that. But again, not going to ramble. Thank you guys for all the support and love, and again, make sure you guys are tapped in with your girl, and we are out.
Thank you. Bye bye.